Good morning, everybody. Hello, welcome. I'm so excited to bring to you our Friday live Q&A show. So welcome all of you. My tardiness this morning, our internet's a little wonky. So hopefully YouTube does not buffer, but just let me know in the comments if you guys can hear me okay. Welcome to all of you new joining. I'm Dr. Melissa Gallagher. And every day now for almost 12 weeks, I have been hosting a Natural Health News live show to report to you news, research, like today, hot off the presses, 2 really big research papers that honestly highlight the reason why you need to be wearing masks. And I just get lots of email, lots of commentary from the anti-maskers. And this information is going to be very impactful for any of you who have family members that have kind of lost their way in terms of not really promoting public safety and health safety. So welcome to all of you. It's Friday morning, woo, and we just had a dance party upstairs kicking off the first Friday of Mommy Camp. So want to share with you some news, and then we will get into a whole bunch of your questions. I've got questions from Instagram, and then I think we have about 17 that were posted on YouTube. So I'll go back and forth with those. So those individuals get priority. And then I'll answer all of your questions if time allows. So we're going to try and stay on about an hour or just under an hour for today's show. So welcome all of you. The world right now has 5.8 million coronavirus cases, and the US has 1.757 million cases. The countries we're monitoring, Brazil and Russia. Brazil is at 438,000. Russia is at 387,000 new total cases. Brazil moved up in a day by 24,000, and that is up from the previous day by 4,000 on top. So they not only met the previous day, but they added 4 more thousand. So it's projected that maybe today they'll add on 28,000 or potentially 30. Yesterday apparently was one of the largest testing days the U.S. has had so far, but we've also had an increase of hospitalizations across the board. 15 total states have seen spikes and increases in cases. 10 states are kind of at an even state, and 25 are on the decline. So California, for instance, had their largest single test day where they had new cases. And that is since the get-go of this, which is quite alarming. So let me break down some of the states, and some we're monitoring more closely than others, just given some of the localized spread, and because I know a lot of you are tuning in from certain areas that I want to make sure I report. So New York's at 366,000. New Jersey's at 157,000. Illinois is at 115. California is at 101. They've crossed the 100,000 threshold very quickly. Massachusetts is at 94. Pennsylvania crossed the 70,000 threshold. They're in the 70,000s. And Texas is at 59,000. So we'll be watching Texas. Texas is on the rise. Some of the early adopters to easing social distancing, we're seeing those states have an increase, as to be expected. And then because people are not being mindful of protecting each other and wearing masks, that's a major source there. Michigan's at 56, Florida's at 53,000 cases, Maryland, 49,000, and Georgia's at 45. We've had a spike here in Georgia. The CDC put out a projection that they are anticipating our death toll to hit 123,000 deaths by June 20th. That's a red alert in the world of the CDC. And it is telling that they're pushing this out there as we are also being bombarded with some of the inaccuracies in terms of the state-based reporting. So as that gets sorted out, and the challenge with the data I reported earlier this week, and if you are new or want to check out those, I have a whole playlist. Instagram only is up for 24 hours total, and then the content goes totally away. but it always is housed on YouTube, so you can go there and catch this information. But that is quite a challenge in that many of the states were basing their reopening on invalid data or inaccurately reported data. In many cases, some underreporting, some overreporting of just completely non-essential information, like the antibody test, for instance. And that has triggered them to reopen where maybe they were reopening prematurely. So this is where we're getting the blend of bureaucracy and politics and health safety. But I do want to report that the range for our death range by June 20th is between 115 and 134,000 deaths. That's still a lot. And it's changing also that August number if we do achieve that number. This is one of those things you want to fail miserably and never hit that number. And unfortunately, I don't think that is going to happen. Some information, Vegas, the strips, Vegas Strip, the casino, I can't remember what the name of that strip is. But the Vegas Strip, I guess what they call it, they're reopening June 4th. And that is going to be kind of an interesting assessment of how well this goes. Miami hotels are, some may be reopening on Monday. That's a big question mark, and I'm watching it to see. There are a few medical conferences that were on my docket in May and June, and then there's another one in August. I'm curious to see what happens with that. Summertime's a big destination spot, really anytime for Miami. Speaking of Florida reopening, Walt Disney World they've put out some dates of some slow reopening. If you recall, a few weeks ago, I actually watched a YouTube channel of the commissioner meeting with Disney representatives. Thrilling information, but basically they have a very specific 3-part rollout. They're going to roll out 50%, 75%, and I think up to like 80 or 90% park capacity as they slowly roll this out. So right now, July 11th is the slotted day for Magic Kingdom. That's where Mickey Mouse Cinderella's castle is. And Animal Kingdom. That's the safari animal park. Those two will open on the 11th. Then they've staggered it 4 days later on the 15th. They'll open Epcot and Hollywood Studios. So I think that gives them some time to kind of work out tweaks and see how and assess how some of these new social distancing practices and measures, what it looks like in terms of the digital, fast passes and all the online virtual scheduling of rides, and then also the social distancing dots in the rides. I don't even know how that happens. Like it's a small world. It contains space, and how do they minimize it? So that's very telling, as things kind of start shifting back to some sense of getting back to some normal. And Rowan says, I had a Disney pass when I lived in LA and miss it deeply, but won't be rushing back anytime soon. They did freeze our passes, which is awesome. That's great. It's good to hear. We had a horrible experience last year taking Gabriel to Disney. He had a fever and it was awful. And we do hope to go back sometime soon. Growing up in Florida, we always went there. It was, a 70-minute ride from door to door. And I grew up going to all of those theme parks. And it's so darn expensive. I'm curious what Disney's going to do to offset that financial hit they've had. And I'm sure we'll absorb that as pass owners and consumers. Okay, so, and Rainbow Citizen Vegas is opening on the 4th. That's on the lunar eclipse in Scorpio. Oh man. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I have got a whole bunch of news to report about face masks. I received a very nice email yesterday or message from one of our Instagram viewers. Apparently one of my Instagram posts that really kind of caught fire and pissed a lot of people off and was like jazzing everybody else up, really got to her in terms of trying to assess. Apparently I'm the first one she's seen report about data about face masks. But then she went into some political kind of thing about, what's next. If we have to wear face masks, it's a slippery slope. That reality, that just doesn't exist. And, she even went so far to say, they're closing our right to assemble for churches. You can virtually assemble. That is just, that's an argument I can't get behind. But what I can get behind is data and research. And I have committed to all of you, I'm always going to bring you the latest news and information. I think it's really important that we highlight what's here. The previous report that I highlighted was based on golden hamsters in Hong Kong, under observation exposed to coronavirus respiratory droplets and with a mouth, a face barrier. Now we have human-based data and human-based research. And the more time, again, time is our valuable asset. The more time we have, the more information we get to gather and we get to collect, and we also get to run research studies and projects. So I'm going to share with you models and empirical validations that highlights that mask wearing is going to lower our the transmissibility of the virus, and also some additional data specifically about how wearing a mask in your house can lower that transmission to other individuals. And so I'm going to dig into that, but I also want to highlight something that is going to be a challenge for all of us who believe research, appreciate science, appreciate data. The World Health Organization is having a little bit of a tiff with the CDC. And I say that in just a really kind of tongue-in-cheek way. There's no tiff, but the reality is the World Health Organization has recently released that the only people who need to wear masks are those caring for sick individuals. Okay, that is very challenging that's the World Health Organization position. Are we surprised by that? No, but the good news is the CDC is reassessing. And again, I believe in the scientists and support the researchers who value data and science. They're not bureaucrats and they're not catering to the political whims of this agency. They have a differing guideline based on information and data. Partially, it's based on localized spread. It's based on our contact tracing and our identification of the spread factors and how, large gatherings and church singing and all of these major transmissibility points, how the CDC has advised Americans to be wearing masks, and they cite data, science. So that's a challenge. And I put that out there because you're going to hear the anti-maskers highlight that the World Health Organization doesn't support this and therefore they don't have to, but our CDC does. And I want some sense of, I feel restored in that, at least we're holding strong on that sense. But most importantly, the first piece of data is out of, it's called the BMJ Global Health. And they go into specific information about wearing masks and the research behind wearing masks. So I want to kind of highlight some information here. And they give a little bit of, they use some modeling factors. They also dig into, for instance, like the UK, the rate of spread, the individuals, they have different colors for masking and at what point it was introduced, and then the changes within, with the lockdown and masking, but they were able to identify that there was a reduction in mask wearing. So the scenario of universal mask wearing, and universal mask wearing where it's adopted at 80% of adoption, it flattens the curve. So the red line is where 80% of the population adopt mask wearing, and it literally flattens the curve. So they also go into the changes, so this is what we have to assess here in the US. This gray line, the top line, is when social distancing measures ease. And that is marked on May 31st. And so there's some projections here into June. There is also identification, and this is all modeling. The blue and yellow and red lines identify those same components where, universal masking or 50%, like there's lockdown and masking is involved. There's lockdown and 50% masking, and then lockdown and 80% masking. So locking down is blue. Yellow is locking down with a partial mask, and then red is lockdown plus mask, and it shows a decrease. So those are some details specifically. Also, they identify the respiratory particles in dots. Okay, so I know this is probably going to be hard for folks to kind of understand without seeing it, but you can print this out. But this identifies just the changes, again, those red, yellow, and blue lines with regard to the amount of particles that are being exposed to the individual. They greatly decrease. So one of the things that this particular research highlights is that if there is an acceptance of the masking culture, up to 79, there will be up to a 79% effect on decreasing the transmission rate. You're going to hear probably 80, but really it's 79. So this report highlights 79% decrease in transmissibility if individuals wear the mask before they show symptoms. So this captures the asymptomatic element as well, which was what the individual who emailed me or messaged me. She didn't want to make a comment on the feed because I think she didn't want to get, people jumping on her. I totally value that. Private messaged me, and in that she was like, what's next and all the kind of political stuff. But the big point is, why do I have to wear a mask? And it's to be protecting everybody else. And the note of it, at the end of the day, we don't know who has it, and they're asymptomatic. It's the asymptomatic spread. That's the unknown, and that's the point we need to capture and restrict. Mask wearing allows us to do that, and this study assesses that change and the difference. So, and it is a culture, and this I've highlighted this report before. They've had an addition to it. So, this highlights just the different cultures that support masking and some of the changes to the masking, where there's adaptation. And you look at New Zealand, that was a big part of their ability to contain it. And that's also assessed. So this study, it combines 5 major institutes all around the world: Finland, France, UK, Berkeley, and Cambridge, UK. And they dig further into this. Now, the most recent, this is hot off the presses. This is it's a Chinese study, cohort study in Beijing, China. And it's a study that assesses the reduction of secondary transmission of SARS-CoV-2 in households by face mask use, disinfection, and social distancing. And so they basically identify, opening windows, being more than 3 feet away from each other in a house, and actively disinfecting surfaces that could be contaminated by, the other individual. That in combination has an 80% reduction in, actually, this is 79 and 77. So 79% reduction with the face masks, daily use of chlorine or ethanol. So they assess the mask and they assess the disinfectants. Disinfectants are 77%. And wearing a mask after illness onset is not productive. It's not protective, but wearing it The risk of household transmission was 18 times higher with frequent daily close contact with a primary case, and 4 times higher, this is crazy, 4 times higher if that individual, the primary case, had diarrhea. And we know that because of bathrooms, we know that the stool carries a virus. So there's that cross fecal oral transmission. That's disgusting, but that is why we want to avoid bathrooms when you're out and about. This shows us a little bit more about that. But again, another reason. So for the individual who messaged me, if you are watching this, I hope you hear this. Why you want to wear a mask. It's not taking your freedoms. It's protecting you from fecal oral transfer. Like, that's disgusting. I mean, think about that. And then the reality is not everybody has good hygiene. I mean, we all know people who don't wash their hands very well, or some people who don't. I mean, it's terrible, but the bathrooms are disgusting. So if you're going to go out and about and you're Target shopping, and this is just one of the masks that I'm wearing, you just wear your mask and you protect yourself and others. So there is that aspect that does. So this study also shows evidence of fecal transmission. That's the other thing that's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. When we start talking about that, I think that will get people on board with masks. I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think that's something that people would definitely adhere to and pay attention to? So one of the things, they talk a little bit about, some specifics about new findings. The overall secondary attack rate in households is 23%. Face masks are 79% effective, and disinfectant use is 77% effective in permitting transmission. And the diarrheal, the oral fecal transfer is the big point. So lots of good information. You can dig through this. They kind of go through the different family members, like the breakdown of this report. Let's see. I had a little bit of a printing challenge, but you can kind of see here how they break it out. The family members, the quantity of family members, family member who had transmission, who didn't, and additional details specific about the rate of transfer. So I think this is going to be another piece that we utilize to highlight facts and science for those who are just refusing to do the right thing, to do the safe thing, to protect others and themselves. This is public safety at its greatest, and I'm happy to report the CDC is behind that research. Birdhouse Barbie, they want to start fogging. I am not comfortable traveling. Oh yeah, I totally understand. Coffee KK 1956. Hi. Fecal transmission from the mouth. Yeah, so fecal transmission, this is what we know from already existing research, is that, and it was particularly studied in the hospital rooms in the US. So the University of Nebraska has done this amount of research. They highlight more details about the greatest transmissibility and the greatest viral particles happen to be in the bathroom. And we know that the fecal, our fecal matter contains the live virus. And this identifies that being a transmission point. That's probably, honestly, out of everything that's like, aha, that's the aha. And I'm curious to see if that comes out in kind of the media. But that's the news for today. Thanks, Nancy, for being open-minded. Okay. So let's dig into your questions. I have a lot of questions. I'm grateful for all of you really participating. So I'm just going to switch over on my one screen here. Okay, so I'm going to go back and forth from YouTube to Instagram. Okay, so Mary Lou over on YouTube asked, Dr. M, I can't tolerate heat very well. I always keep well hydrated, but in the summer, when temps hit over 85 degrees Fahrenheit, I can't be outside for more than 5 minutes. My face gets flushed. I feel overheated from the inside. Sometimes I get a headache and feel tired. Takes me a while to cool down once I go out inside. I don't sweat a whole lot either. Okay, so we can talk about that. If I'm just standing out there or doing light gardening, I can't take it. Any ideas on what's going on? I'm 48, not in menopause yet. So There could be a multitude of things happening. A lot of my heat intolerance patients tend to be dealing with some autoimmunity. Traditionally, it'll be thyroid imbalances, maybe Hashimoto's, as well as lupus, some underlying lupus. And for some of my lymphatic patients, they can't tolerate the heat. The lack of sweating tells me your lymphatic system needs to be addressed. So when we don't sweat, that is the normal process of cooling down. When you're not sweating a lot, your body's not cooling down. Of course, you're going to feel like you're in like a desert and get the flushed experience. So I would implement some dry skin brushing, some activities to motivate your lymphatics. And when you feel comfortable, see your doctor and maybe have some antibody testing just to rule out any autoimmunity. Okay, so I'm going to switch over to some of my questions here on Instagram. Okay, DWT277. Do you take new clients? Not right now, because we're trying to figure out our summer schedule. And at this point, I have no childcare for Gabriel. Our summer camps that we had him potentially lined up for have been canceled. And then Brian officially goes back to work on June 15th. And so I don't even know what that's going to look like with our live shows. I'm sure I could probably do a shorter version. I think I could keep them entertained for about an hour. But that does put a wrench in my process. So the next question she had is, can breast implants cause cancer? Yes, they can. That has been proven. There's one manufacturer that we know for sure has. Breast implants are very toxic. The silicone lining, even if you have saline, the silicone is a very, very intense toxin. I'm not a fan at all of breast implants, even post breast surgery. I know that's horrible to say, and a lot of women feel so connected to their femininity with their breasts. I get it, having breastfed Gabriel, but breast implants cause more damage and harm, and the newer batches of implants are really toxic, and we are still figuring out why. Like my women who have had them in 10, 15, 20 years ago, and technically every 10 years you're supposed to get them redone. A lot of women don't know that. They're not told, or they forget, or they're like, I'm not doing that again. And if they don't get them replaced, you have potential issues of toxicity. Breast implants will trigger autoimmunity. And a lot of my patients, when I work with them, that's one of the first things that's actually on my intake form. Do you have any implants? And I want to know, are there metal implants? Are there breast implants? Calf implants, whatever, chin, everything. And that is a factor. So hopefully you feel confident in that question, in that answer. Erica Chavis says, hi, Dr. Melissa. I was wondering if there's anything natural my daughter can take on a daily basis. She gets UTIs at least twice a year, something she can take that prevents it. She is 16. So the first thing I would want to know is, as we're going to get detailed here, I'd want to know what type of underwear she's wearing. I'd want to make sure she's wearing cotton breathable underwear. The second thing would be, I'd first try changing out her soap that she's using. I'd go with a Castile soap. Fragrances, the phthalates and things like that can disrupt the pH, so that could be a factor. There are some really good homeopathic over-the-counter UTI preventative medications. Azo is my favorite, go-to just off the bat, but usually there's something else underlying, so we'd want to figure that out. Okay, Jackie Priest. My 23-year-old son was diagnosed with schizoaffective disorder. Any advice? So the first thing I would definitely want to do is do a neurotransmitter testing, neurotransmitter test just to analyze the neurotransmitter levels. Also, dietary-wise, you'd want to really support major healthy fats, as well as using gotu kola. It's an herb, and also gotu kola and the Panax ginseng. Those are very brain supportive for balancing the brain chemistry, but there's definitely neuroendocrine. This is a neuroendocrine chemical imbalance. I don't know if it can be completely eradicated because I don't know anything about the case, but the big thing is just supporting the brain health, brain function, brain support. Okay, so DWT responded on her question. I've had mine in for 25 years. Do you know a good doctor to remove them? Yes, I do. I actually want to know one of the top 4 in the US. Her name is Dr. Barnett. She's in Sarasota. She's awesome. Price is something I know you have to evaluate budgetarily, but I've seen a lot of her post removal cases. An explant, that's what we say when we remove an implant. An explant, especially of 25 years, there's going to be a lot of scarring, and it's a very involved process. And like when I say scarring, like people have no idea how much scarring the breast cavity can hold. A lot of times the scarring gets attached to your rib cage. It gets attached to some of your muscles. It gets under your axillary, so right underneath your armpit. And the explant is a more thorough, more involved procedure. Implants are really easy. They just, kind of create a capsule and boom, they're in. It's like 45 minutes. An explant, depending on what they see when they get in, can be several hours. So just know that the, Barnett, out of many of the ones I've seen here locally and back in Florida, and I used to have people fly in to see me. She has the most beautiful incisions, like fine lines, clean, not ragged, not rigid. She's just a very methodical surgeon. And she does the work. She doesn't pass, on suturing to an intern or anything like that, which, that does happen a lot of times in plastic surgery cases. So I definitely look her up. She's in Sarasota, Florida, Dr. Barnett, Barnett. Okay. So next question, Ace Cats. What is the best homeopathic remedy for dry scalp and dandruff for my 10-year-old? We tried a tea tree oil coconut and hoping this works. We tried everything. So the big question is, dry scalp and dandruff might be indicative of a little psoriasis and eczema. So that the topical can help, but I would look at healing the gut. So the big question, if we're dealing with the 10-year-old, was a 10-year-old vaginally birthed or cesarean? That's going to be a big factor in terms of how you want to address the amount of probiotics to get into their body. I'm a big fan of 25 and 30 strains, so different types of bacteria in the probiotic. Start with that, and then also add omega fish oil. And then what I would do for the dry scalp and dandruff, what I would do is I would get a neem oil, and literally, the neem oil would be like a liquid version. And I would literally just put a little bit like on the scalp and rub it in before the child goes to bed. So that's what I would recommend. Okay, so Jackie said, I want to thank you as well for mentioning Shatavari. Oh, it's so good. Purchased Menocare by Himalaya. So excited. No more hot flashes. Woo, 2 weeks without it. Thank you. Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, Shatavari is magical for women. It's great for all women of all ages, especially it gets billed here in the US as like a lactation producer, and that turns a lot of women away. They're like, I'm 50 and I'm not lactating. But it is so expansive in terms of its benefit to women. I love it. Okay, so let me switch over to Instagram questions. Okay, so Pau Seymour says, what do you recommend for muscle soreness after working out? I'm taking magnesium. Hydration and then foam rolling. If you foam roll, you're going to get out all of the lactic acid. So foam roll first after working out. Actually, what you want to do is you want to foam roll before you work out. That gets you limber, gets the circulation moving. Then work out, then foam roll again, as you cool down. Cooling down, foam rolling should be part of your exercise program. Then, throughout the day, either if you're showering after, workout, I would do a dry skin body brushing. That just gets the lymphatics moving and eradicating some of that lactic acid buildup. But foam rolling, it's going to be the best thing ever. Okay, so LTL GRL. So it's Little Girl Blue 46. Friend has tried everything for a crazy cough lasting weeks on end. Now thinking it might be GERD LPR related. Have started Nexium. I hate Nexium. To see if it helps. If it does, what's your advice on correcting this problem without having to use these drugs? Well, first of all, Nexium is going to cause a whole assortment of lower GI because it stops the digestive acids from helping break down that food, which then you have undigested food that then kicks off leaky gut, which is going to cause a whole bunch of issues. So Nexium, that purple pill, tends to be the source of a lot of autoimmunity. What I would do is I would have the friend analyze foods that she has reactions to. Usually folks have sensitivities to garlic, spices, intense spices, like hotter spices, warmer spices. Also analyze her onion reaction. Sometimes onions will trigger people. Nightshades, like, peppers. Then I would first make sure she starts to eliminate gluten and dairy. Those will usually resolve a GERD LPR. But she also might be dealing with like a little bit of a lazy stomach valve. And so that's a totally different ball game. She wouldn't know that. We wouldn't really know that until we had some sort of more diagnostic testing, endoscopy type of thing. But definitely get rid of Nexium, replace it with apple cider vinegar. And even people will take HCl capsules after they eat. But, definitely apple cider vinegar 10, 15 minutes after an individual eats, especially if it's a higher dense, like animal-based protein, that will usually resolve GERD, but tends to be food-related allergies. Okay, I am Carrie Bryant. What are the best strategies to shrink or eliminate fibroids? So I'm not sure where the fibroids are. We have fibroids in our breasts, and we also have it in our uterus, as well as cysts on our ovaries. But the fibroids in the breast and the uterus are very synonymous. So usually you'll have several fibroids in the breast, and there'll also be one or multiple fibroids. There are different types of fibroids in the uterus, depending on what type it is, where it's located is a factor. But I actually have several videos on that. I had that experience in my early 30s and resolved that, without having to undergo surgery. Ablation tends to be what they want to do. The most important thing is to focus on thyroid balance, stress reduction, and addressing the liver toxicity. You do those three things and castor oil pack on the regular, and cutting out some of the, stressful foods, stressful environmental factors, and really eliminate as many of the toxic estrogens as you can. Estrogen feeds fibroids. So, that is why I choose green, clean beauty products and hair products. That was a huge factor in just clearing out. And it's just things that we don't even think about, like everyday use items, hair care products and perfumes. Perfumes can cause excess estrogens, and then also in our environment. So that would be my first kind of source of recommendation. Okay, so back to YouTube. Okay, so Shelly R says, I clean houses for a living. I have Hashimoto's, so I'm not quick to go back to work though my clients are eager. I'm sure you've got your work cut out for you. I suggested they buy UVC lamps before I come back. They agreed. How would that work? So it would work where they could put the UVC lamps in rooms, obviously, and I have them coming to me. I'm going to do a video on this, but essentially UVC lamps, they could put in a room. Some are like auto, they know somebody's there or not. And so they're triggered. They'll turn off when somebody enters, proximity, but you can literally close the door and it'll sanitize the room. So you could, maybe you'd want to say, okay, here's what we're going to do. Like for us, we have a 2-story house. Not everybody does, but I know certain areas of the US, their 2-story homes are more common. In Florida, that's not so common. Now it is, as builders are coming in, but like I grew up in a 1-story house. So the way you would do it is you just say, I can come and clean X number of rooms, but I'm going to need you to put the lamps in, close the door, and then, it would be something where maybe you say, okay, and I'll go in and I'll turn it off. You're going to have to wear eye protection, and turn the unit off. But that would be a way to at least minimize the COVID exposure. The other thing that you could do would be to get a wand. Obviously, you're wearing gloves and protecting yourself. But, that would be something that would probably be the best route. But again, talking about this research about the masks, this particular research would be effective for you in terms of that exposure. There's really nothing, your exposure is going to be no different than being in a household, if you were, if you will. So if you have 5 or 6 homes that you're cleaning in that week, you've got 5 points of potential transmission. So you'd want to treat being in the home like you would any other setting, like grocery store or whatnot. And really, for sure, protect your eyes. So especially cleaning the bathrooms. I mean, the risk factors, you definitely want them to put those UVC lamps in the bathrooms without fail. Like that, they need to have those in, and that would minimize your risk, the greatest amount of risk, because we do know there's a fecal oral transfer. Okay, so next question. I think it's INAY_UOB. How much of CoQ10 is better to take for prevention? Is there any standard amount? So the US standard is anywhere between 200 milligrams and I've seen up to 800 milligrams in capsules. I have one I take that's 500. I take 2 a day. So for CoQ10, more is better. More has been shown clinically, especially over in Japan. They've studied this out the wazoo since the 70s. Tons of clinical findings. They use CoQ10 in massive IV quantities to reverse heart disease, heart damage, cellular repair. And CoQ10 is excellent for mitochondrial repair as well. So I've used it and have been using it since my Epstein-Barr virus situation. Okay, so cupcake paper, best supplements for fatty liver when you do not have a gallbladder, fatty liver diet. So that's really comprehensive, but I'll just highlight a few things. The other day I highlighted the bile salts. That's helpful without a liver. You absolutely have to have those. And the two herbs that I love for liver are going to be milk thistle and dandelion. Most importantly, you want to eliminate your insulin, or not eliminate, balance your insulin resistance, glucose intolerance, and level out your cortisol. Those 2 things, cortisol, the insulin resistance, glucose intolerance, are the leading cause for fatty liver. Your liver stores your cortisol level, excess cortisol gets bogged down. And to be honest with you, our livers take a big hit. And a fatty liver can be the source of thyroid imbalance. And most of us aren't getting assessed for that. So, okay. All right. Let me go over to Instagram here. Lil Lori 77. What are your thoughts about racism against Blacks and police brutality? So I have my personal thoughts. I think is absolutely outrageous what's happening across the board. I'm most concerned health-wise for the population. My channel is not about social injustice. So I won't go into that, but I will tell you there are disparities when it comes to racial lines and health challenges and health, and a greater increase in diseases like heart disease and diabetes and heart attacks and strokes. My concern are for those communities and the populations that are underserved, undereducated, undertested. I say undereducated where they might not have access to healthcare. And so they're not getting tips on diet and things like that. That's what I mean in education. That's my concern, especially in the COVID atmosphere. I now am starting to wonder, based on Georgia and some of the data that we know, Georgia is not reporting all of our COVID hospitalizations, which means that individuals who get tested in the hospital, that's what has been recorded. And that could potentially change our percentage of who we know in the state of Georgia who are falling victim to COVID-19. It's been reported we have 85% of our COVID cases are Black, African Americans. They're in the Black, you look at like racial, they have white, Latino, Black. They're the highest percentage. But now that we know Georgia is not calculating this right, I wonder if there's some underlying things there, and that I'm just going to put that there. But like, I am just aghast at what's happening across the board in Minnesota, and I can't even go there. So, but definitely, I hope that answers your question. Okay, and I haven't read any of these questions. I just printed it out, so I have just on the fly. Okay, jingle all the way. What are your suggestions for the top 5 supplements for female in her early 50s and beginnings of menopause? No gallbladder and no other health issues. I've been listening and buying this and that, but wanted to see your top 5 list. So that would be a great video topic. But you know, at the beginning of menopause, Shatavari is like my go-to for women. I would definitely want that in omegas, for sure. And depending on some other stuff, but those would definitely be the 2 that I would want to focus on. You know, beginnings of menopause, if you're having hot flashes as well, I'd add in Ephisoi. Okay. The Giving Gazette one, I'm queasy, stomach burning, what's wrong? I don't know if that's like queasy or feeling like a queasy stomach burning. Could very well be stomach acid imbalances. It could be a mucosal lining infection. Could be an ulcer. Sometimes that's stress and bacteria related. Could be H. pylori. You need some diagnostics to figure out what's going on, which could be endoscopy. It could very well be a breath test to kind of get a sense of the gases that are being, kind of the off gassing, if you will, of what's going on in the stomach. Tells us a little bit about what's going on. So I would say we need to know more information. Okay. Let's see. Lisa Gardner. Hi, Dr. Melissa. I was wondering if you know anything about Candida and biotin. I have Candida and I have really thin damaged hair from thyroid and anemia. So I really wanted to try biotin, as I have had great results from it in the past, but I read somewhere that biotin fuels Candida growth. So now I'm worried. Can you tell me if I know? So Candida is its own challenge. So the question I have for you is, have you been diagnosed or have you had tests that identify you have Candida? Most of the time we don't, but usually we'll have certain symptoms. There is a gut thyroid balance. So that's one factor. Anemia can also be another factor in terms of your body's methylation process, as well as your body's ability to absorb nutrients, iron being one of them. So generally, B vitamins, biotin's a B vitamin, will not fuel or feed Candida growth. There might be imbalances from B vitamins that can be a factor for immune regulation and immune modulation. But what I would say to your question is, I don't think they're as connected as you're thinking. Biotin tends to be really good for hair, but I go for collagen first. Like I want really clean collagen, bone broth. But most importantly, the thyroid is the aspect. Thyroid and gut would be what I'd focus on healing. Okay, Coffee KKK, 1956. She asks, going back to work soon, please recommend 2 most important supplements I should buy first. So immune-wise, I would definitely want you to start the herbal, 3-letter herbal botanical I love, the C and the D and the second letter of the alphabet. That would be, I would recommend that because that's a very good immune modulator. And it's going to help you with the stress because it's going to be the thing that nobody's talking about. We're all going to be stressed when we're all starting to get back to greater exposure. And there will be a second wave. It's a matter of time and just degree of it. If we don't have mass compliance, we're going to have a really bad second wave. So I would look at that as one of them. And then the other would be, if you're at work, depending on what type of work you do, I do the mask and clear eyewear. I think there's ways that we can work around having fashionable clear eyewear and people just think you're wearing glasses. But really, and it's an easy workaround, like I'm not going to my eye doctor yet. And it's just wearing your glasses again. So that would be something I'd want to make sure in a work setting that you protect your eyes and your oral, nose and mouth as well. So supplement wise, the C-D, and then the other one that I would recommend would be Host Defense. They have their My Community, and if you DM me, I can send you a link to that. Let's see, here it is. I'm going to write that down next to your DM My Community. Okay. All right. So I'm going to keep going. How's everybody doing? I don't even see the live chat anymore. Let me bounce over here. Okay. Yeah, Shadavari is fantastic. Okay. So, sorry, my nose is itching. Cupcake Paper, which multi has the safe vitamin E? There are just a few of them. I don't know them right off the top of my head, but you just have to do your label reading. I know that there are several good brands that you can buy, sometimes over the counter, but definitely online that you can buy. We're seeing a little bit greater introduction into the tocotrienol for the safer vitamin E, but there is a natural vitamin E that's not synthetic. Okay, so next question, Salvage Goods Ceaston. Is fermented cod liver oil okay to take daily as an anti-inflammatory? And if so, how much? Yes. Okay, so I love fermented cod liver oil. That's what I take. Green Pastures is my favorite brand. They're small mom and pop. I don't know how COVID has hit them, so I don't know that situation. Most of my supplement brands that I've been working with, they're considered essential. So many of them haven't had decreases. I know like Full Script, all of our customer service teams, they're all working at home. So yes, I would take it. It is a good anti-inflammatory. How much? Usually the dosage recommended, and I would take it how they recommend it. But anytime you take fermented cod liver oil or any omega 369 or 35679, there are others, 12 and 13. I would take it away from vitamin D and any of your fat soluble vitamins. So, and as well as your butter oil. I don't take my butter oil with that either. So just to minimize the fighting with the absorption. Okay, I think I've gotten through several of these. There are two that are cut off somehow with my printing. Okay, so let's see here. Carol asked a question. Okay, so Carol says, Carol St. Andrew, she says, I used to take both no thyroid and levothyroxine. I had a burning, itching sensation on my back, and when I stopped these, it went away. Is there anything I could take naturally to replace? I tried what Doc said to lower amount, but it didn't work. Strange too, because I've been fine for 2 years taking this dose. You might have hit a tolerance level. There could have been a manufacturing change. Sometimes there's differences when you get the main brand and like generic. So that can be a factor. Sometimes like they don't always tell you they change their formulations. So that might be a factor. What can you take as a replacement? Depending on what your levels are, there's just so much with the thyroid. It's hard to say, but I would definitely look at a thyroid, adrenal, pituitary, glandular. I talked about this earlier this week. I want to say Tuesday's live show, I talked about glandulars. Anita says, how are you doing? I'm doing well. We're mommy camping. Actually, it's going pretty well. So I'm diving into educating my child, and we'll see. This is going to be a trial to see if we want to do this all of next year. I don't know. I am slightly skeptical that we are going to have normal school, and because we pay for a private school and we have a young child, that's in the kind of preschool side of things, it's not really a value add. And, I want Gabriel to get ahead and not behind in all of this, as does every parent. Okay, so Julie Catherine 20, she says, are adaptogenic herbs safe for people with autoimmune disease? Yes, but it depends on which ones. If not, which are not safe. So depends on your autoimmunity. Hashimoto's, I always avoid the ashwagandha because it's a nightshade and it can cause inflammation. I haven't been diagnosed with anything specific, only high ANA and gluten allergy. Sounds potentially like Hashimoto's. But I would, Julie, Catherine, I would say have them, next time you go in, have them run a full thyroid panel with the TPO-AB and the immunoglobulin. Make sure they run those. Okay, Cupcake Paper says detox protocols for PFAS toxic chemicals. Liver detoxing is the most important. So dandelion, milk thistle, the liver is the most impactful, motivating your lymphatics and detoxing your liver. Safe self-tanners for use. I have to dig into that. I don't self-tan, I don't do self-tanner, so I don't know offhand, but I can look into that. Okay, so let me bounce back over and start answering questions. So go ahead and start sending me your questions. I'm going to scroll through. Let's see. Going back through Instagram. Okay. Oops. I don't know why it's trying to get me to post. Okay. All right. So let me see if I've got any questions here. What to take for mood disorder and antisocial personality. So mood disorder, I'd want to know which one. Definitely neurotransmitter balancing, antisocial personality. So that could just very well be a personality. We don't always have the ability to use supplements to totally change who we are, but we can change how we feel. We can change how our neurobiochemistry works. So, definitely all the fat soluble, healthy fats, very similar with what I mentioned earlier, the kind of enhancing the intake of, really rich amino acids and omegas. I love butter oil, K2. That'd be really key just to enhance the circulation. Okay, so let's see here. Okay, Dina. Hi, Melissa. Hi, Dr. Melissa. Your Hashimoto download suggested thyroid support complex. It has ashwagandha. I recall your thyroid webinar does not recommend for Hashimoto's. Please clarify. I'll have to look at that because some of the links might have changed. I'm not sure, but there's a multitude of thyroid resources. So if that's not the best one for you, we can definitely get you one that is. So let me just write that down. Let's see. Let's see, more questions. Okay. Angel C, 20-year family member has to poop right after eating, has been for about 4 months. She has eliminated gluten and dairy for about 2 months, has had weight gain also. So I don't know what the backstory is there, but I definitely look at, gosh, my nose is really itching right now. I would look at probably stress is related. One of the things we don't really highlight is that when we have food allergies, that's stressful to the body. And it's our blood chemistry not interacting well with the food chemistry. And it's this war that happens. It's immune response. Okay, so Shadavari, I'll make sure I post that for you guys on the when this processes. Instagram, we've got about 1 minute and 40 seconds. Let's see. Holly Evelyn, are balance issues common with hypothyroidism and Hashimoto's? Have noticed when doing yoga, Tabata, it's off. Previously, I've always had great balance. Sometimes there might be a little inflammation from here, and it can affect your eustachian tube. So I would, Holly, follow my lymph draining protocol. You do 7s, and I don't have any facial makeup on. You do 7s like that, and you do 7s like this down the neck, and that will promote it. I am working on a very specific thyroid related DIY type of thing for all of you who have these thyroid challenges. I fall into that category. Like my blood typing, I'm an O. O's, we are all thyroid all day long, and have to work diligently to balance those. And stress can really imbalance you. from that perspective. So the stress of everything might just be kicking that up. And I don't know if you've noticed any change with that. Okay, decluttering. Yes, Native Americans as well. Yeah, I didn't mention that. And they're not, it's crazy. They're not even being counted in any of the American totals, which is outrageous. Is there any way to naturally treat diverticulitis? You can't resolve it, but a lot of healthy fiber, chicory root, and usually diverticulitis is caused by gallbladder removal. Where did I get my mask? Online, I've got links down below in YouTube and Instagram. I'm going to bring you guys back up. Kay Hathaway, I'm not sure really trusting of your info coming from China. That's unfortunate because China, I just don't know what to say to people who say that. You know, we have such a stigma, and this is politically oriented, and we've got to get away from that. I can't. Turning information into a prejudice or racism is not okay. It's not okay. I can't tolerate that behavior. I mean, we cannot divide ourselves that way and then use that to just completely circumvent data and science. Okay, I'm bringing Instagram back. Okay, Instagram, you're back for part 2 of our live Q&A. I'm just going to take a few more questions and then I've got to run. But I was just saying, oh, Mary Lou, we've got live chats. I'm sorry. I was like so consumed. Mary Lou, $2.99, big thumbs up. Thank you. And Keisha Hardwick. Hey, Keisha. I hope I said your name right. Hey, Dr. Melissa. So glad to catch you on a live chat this morning. Have you ever done a liver flush with Rejuvelac, wheat, and potato broth? I have not. I've done all sorts of liver detoxing. My favorite, honestly, that's highly potent is are the coffee enemas. It sounds pretty intense. Coffee enemas, and then also you can do a moringa enema. You can do a wheatgrass juice enema. All sorts of good stuff. Okay. KDA finished Taxol infusions for stage 4 BC breast cancer in February and continue with Herceptin and Perjeta every 3 weeks. My question, my pH levels, urine is H, saliva is lower at 6.5. That is your body recalibrating. You'll be off for a little while. And what you want to do, Katie, and bravo for everything you've gone through. That's a huge thing. We need to give Katie some love. Stage 4 breast cancer is no joke. The thing that we need to do is to nourish and support your body. So I would focus in on micronutrients, lots of them. You know, all your trace minerals, enzymes, omegas, just really hone in supporting your body. The thing with the infusions, they're so overwhelmingly toxic. You've got to get back to balance. The best way to do that is, if you aren't already doing it, eating, raw food, a lot of, green juices, and just really think about eating all your micronutrients and then also supplementing, because you've gone below deficiency, or you've gone below the daily kind of level, the normal level, and your deficiency. When I always micronutrient test my cancer patients without fail. They're really low on a lot of things. Okay. So Kay Hathaway. Yes. Okay. So you are confident in info coming from China. Yes, I am. And I think what we need to do is we need to table any of the fear that, one, why is there a concern about China? I think, the same could be said about the US, about our reporting, so if you're in China and, we were all in China and we're looking at the US and reports are coming from the US, and you say, well, Georgia, Florida aren't reporting right and the CDC's gone wrong and all this stuff. Why would I support the US, the data, any data coming from the US? Like, when I pose it that way, does that make you think, wait a second, why would I do that? So, yes, it is reputable. And I also think we have to table the difference in the Chinese CDC and the World Health Organization And we have to look at researchers in universities. You know, the global population of scientists and researchers, scientific researchers, they are apolitical. They are there to do a job. They're trained, you know, same methodologies that we have implement here. And, you know, there's also cross training. And I don't know how involved you are all in like our cancer research. The amount of hand-in-hand cancer research that's happening, we outsource sometimes a lot of research to China. So we need to be really careful about that. Just in terms of being so like, oh, it came out of China. And no, no. I think you need to consider your source. You need to read who's authored it, who are the affiliations or the corresponding authors. And in this, it was specifically also in this particular research, the Institute for Infectious Diseases and Epidemic Disease Control in Beijing, State Key Laboratory of Remote Sensing Science in Beijing, the Office of Beijing Center for Global Health, the Institute for Nutrition and Food Hygiene in Beijing, the Department of Environmental and Occupational Health, School of Public Health, University of Nevada, Kirby Institute, Facility of Medicine, the University of South Wales. So the one thing, when I say it's coming out of China, the research, the subjects of the research are based out of China. It's very common to have cross, global based research. And honestly, many of the research studies I've highlighted to you have a cross blend. And so absolutely on no real confidence in any reporting. So are you saying you have no confidence in reporting? Then I don't know how to help you there. So I'm not going to answer questions that individuals don't want to be open to and answer. It's just, let's not be ignorant. I would warn you from being ignorant and, potentially racist. Okay, so Alyssa is sending KDA good thoughts. Universities receive massive funding, and they're known to be highly corrupt. I'd want to, here's the thing. When we make statements like that, we need to back that up. What do you have, Danica, that backs that up? I mean, there is definitely some information, like we've seen corruption at the National Institutes of Health, like in Moffitt, back in Tampa. I used to work very, very closely with them. Their administrators were caught selling information and were being paid off by China. It's not the researchers that are, it's the administrators, the higher. This is where we have bureaucracy, the upper political echelon, and then the apolitical scientific researchers. And that is something that, you have to separate the political motivations. So, I understand there is a caution, and I appreciate caution, but I think we need to separate caution from critical thinking. In critical thinking, you dig in. Like I dig in. I want to know, who are all these people? What's this, sample size? What's all the information? I want to read. I want to know how they've done it, their approach. The thing is we are constantly learning new information. Information has to come out about this virus for us to do anything. So research is at an all-time high. Science there's a massive growth in the scientific, not method or approach, but the fact that we are just running a boat ton of research projects to try and figure out how do we tackle this. And the skepticism I'm concerned about. I think what concerns me most and where we should all be concerned is going to be concern in the accounting of our numbers. We already know the states are manipulating the data, and they're manipulating it in a way for all of us to go back to normal and have very much an economic political stance on that. But this is this is apolitical. Okay, so we need to really separate that. Letitia, $5 super chat. Thank you. I appreciate it. Blessed indeed says thank you for all your great information. We are so lucky to get that at no cost. You work so hard. Grateful. Thank you. Okay, virtual hugs. Yay. Okay, so DWT, you're welcome. KK Critch, if I'm a 1 year and 9 months stage 3A breast cancer survivor, wahoo, big win. Is my immune system still compromised? I had all treatments and I've just started trying to eat and detox my body from the toxins. So this is what I would say. The one thing is to not label your immune system in any other way than it's working. So you have to be really cautious with our thoughts, what we say and how the body responds. The one thing that you have to know is that when you are going through the treatments and you are fighting for your life, and you have all of, there's surgery, there's radiation, there's chemotherapy, it's just a lot of overwhelm. And look, you got through it and your body's okay. It just needs to get rebalanced and nourished. So just think of it as like, you had a forest. The cancer was an issue with the soil in the forest. Because of that, we had to have chemo and all these treatments. That was like a forest fire to get rid of the bad soil. Now you just have soil. You need to nurture your soil. You need to nourish it. You need to put nutrients in. And then you just let things be and life will happen again. So what that means is micronutrients, lots of, good, healthy, clean food. I would definitely add in, liver detoxing, definitely dry skin body brushing, get your lymphatics motivated. There's a lymph immune response. Depending on, how many lymph nodes you've had removed and radiated, there's going to be the risk of lymphedema. So actively start wearing, I don't know if it's both, but wear compression therapy, compression wear, especially when you fly or active in sports and whatnot. That is the best thing you can do. But just have faith. Your body survived the toxins of fighting cancer. It's working. I don't say I don't, even with cancer, your immune system is never compromised. Cancer is sneaky. It is a sneaky little sucker, and it will put this protein shell around itself. So your immune system doesn't even scan it as an invader. That's how it's so effective. So your immune system is perfectly fine. You've been overrun with toxicity, but you can pull out of that deficiency very easily. It takes, just give your body grace. No, it takes a lot of time to recover and turn that ship around, and rest and listen to your body. So if you need rest or you don't feel like doing something one day, that's okay. Give yourself a pass. Give yourself grace to say, no, I'm going to start again tomorrow. So that's my message for you. Okay, let's see here. Rainbow Citizen, why did so many organic doctors suddenly die of suicide a few years back? I don't know. I don't know what that means. And I don't know. Here's the thing, Rainbow Citizen, I don't get into conspiracy theories. I just don't have time. I'm a mom. I am a partner. I'm a business owner. I run these shows every day. I don't have space in my brain for that. Cars 69Z, having a lot of pelvic pain with my fibroids. What can I do to alleviate the pain? My 3-letter botanical, love, C-D. Second letter of the alphabet for the middle one. I would do that. High doses, Octagon Biolabs, check them out. Code Melissa, and then the 3-letter botanical, 20% off. I think it's 20% off. Yeah, it's 20% off. I would do that where you do that, but then I would do castor oil packing, lots of liver detoxing. Okay, Clive Simmons, $4.99. Thank you. She says, thank you for giving us scientific data daily. I'm so grateful for you. Thank you, Doc. Oh, and her cute little emojis. I love it. The little science emojis. Very, very cute. Let's see. I love that patients, our immune system is working, just need to rebalance. The thing is, we have to have, I really feel like people need to have more faith in the magic and the miracle of our body. There's still a lot of information we don't know about our body. I mean, look, we only know, about the brain, like 10% of its functionality. There's so much more there. And I really do, there is the metaphysical component of where what we say to ourselves, our body follows suit. And that book that I referenced, The Healing Self by Deepak Chopra, it's phenomenal, just that connection. And Louise Hay, she tapped into that without really the science behind it. All right. So Evan Stein, any resources or thoughts for pregnant women during the COVID-19? Any natural supplements you would suggest? Thanks for being a great resource. So pregnancy is really tough because you can't really take a whole lot. But I would just keep on with your, prenatal vitamin, DHA. I took the fermented cod liver oil and definitely enhanced my probiotics. If you plan to have a vaginal delivery, that's going to be the best thing for your child. Just you having the strongest bacteria levels, healthy gut. We pass that on. We pass it on vaginally through the delivery, and then we pass it on through breast milk if you're going to breastfeed. And just have peace. Open lines of communication with your doctor. I know some women are choosing to do home births. Some are choosing to do outpatient, centers and things like that. So birthing centers and whatnot, just investigate your options and your, keep with your comfort level. Let's see. Okay. Okay. Give my body the best. Sorry, I may have missed it if you answer this, but are there any no foods you recommend staying away from? No food, no, don't eat these foods. Globally, fried foods, artificial sugars, for sure. Anything diet, get that out of your body, get it out of your home. Don't buy it. That's the trick. Don't buy, then you don't eat. So don't buy them. I know it sounds really simple, but, and it's very common for individuals in the household to have different kind of dietary methodologies. And there's certain foods that Brian consumes that I never buy, but I've been buying them now because he's at home and, it is what it is. For Gabriel and I, we are really, really clean in our eating. He comes along for the ride in some cases, but he also has, some other health challenges that we've been kind of addressing. The audio version, yeah, it might be. I wouldn't doubt it that it is. I love his voice. And I love that, isn't it one of the comedians, Myers, doesn't he do a really funny Deepak impression? It's so perfect. Okay. So let's see. Okay. So KK or K Creech. I had all of that plus an 18-week clinical trial of chemo pills. I had 11 lymph nodes removed. I already have stage 2 lymphedema. Oh, okay. So I hope you are wearing compression. Rerouting. I have videos on rerouting. You want to just go over to my YouTube channel. For any of you who have any lymphatic challenges or want to know how to dry skin brush, I have video DIY tutorials over on YouTube. You can go into my YouTube and you can search. I have over 500 videos. This is our 510th video, I think. And you can search, and I have a playlist. And the rerouting for anybody who's had, this is axillary, so underneath our armpits, as any axillary nodes removed, you're going to want to route up towards, we call this space an anastomosis space. These are all fancy words. Basically, it's an alternate drain. And you can retrain your lymphatics. So one thing people don't really understand, we have an amazing lymphatic system. That's one of my core specialties. And you can train it. You can develop new pathways. It's pretty spectacular. I do that all the time with patients. That is exciting because that's something doctors will tell you can't do. And honestly, we can redevelop pathways because the body's intuitive and it's smart and it will go to the path of least resistance. Sometimes we have to retrain it, but it is always rejuvenating. Okay, so let's see. I think that is it, friends. I've got to run. But stay tuned. Tomorrow we're going to go live. Sundays I'm now off, but I will bring Facebook on for our live show. I've got to sort some things out with my mini iPad. I got logged out of Facebook for some reason. But anyway, thanks for tuning in. I hope you found all the content here, questions and answers helpful. Clive and Letitia, I want to thank our live super chatters. Keisha, I value you guys. Mary Lou, thank you so much for contributing. That makes my day. It really does help support our channel because I value our time together. And I traditionally spend a lot of time researching and pulling together. And the live Q&A, I just print your questions and off we go. So thank you very much. I hope you guys are well. And just know, have faith in your body. It's constantly healing and rebalancing. And just because you're in one state doesn't mean you're always in that permanently. So it's always shifting. And you have great control with your mind, your thoughts specifically, and your daily choices. So choose well, friends. Have a great Friday. I will see you all later. Bye. Thanks, YouTube. I will see you guys later. Have a great day. Thanks, Patron.